Village tales evolved from an era where customs and cultural beliefs formed the very fabric of day-to-day life in rural villages of Guyana during the 1950s, 60s, and 70s. As a child of a health visitor who served in many of these rural communities, I had the privilege of experiencing cultures raw and uninfluenced. Families responded to standard expected community norms, focusing on education, social development, religion, and healthcare. However, healthcare administration often proved challenging for my mother due to opposing customs, cultural beliefs, and expectations. My experiences as a child growing up in these villages have had a positive influence on my very resourceful personality. I will always treasure those years, never forgetting the intriguing stories that I have to share.
The BACOOS by Monchoir.
That Matilda had BACOOS was no secret. Eerie sounds would often be heard coming from her house in the dead of the night. Eerie, spine-chilling sounds, the cry of the BACOOS. Everyone in the village knew that the reason behind Matilda's wealth and prosperity was her pact with the BACOOS. As long as she gives them what they needed, she fared well. Matilda worshipped the soul of the ancestral BACOO god, Plenteous. Weekly worship rituals took the lives of 6 chickens, sacrificed in culmination to chants and stomps and twists and turns, movements consistent with the transforming beat of drums. So-called spiritual men and women from neighboring villages would join the weekly gatherings. A familiar chant could be heard above the drums.
Back to back, belly to belly, I don't give a damn, I done that already. Back to back, belly to belly, I want donkey, jamboree.
Everyone in the neighborhood heard, but no one wanted to hear. It was scary a notion. BACOOS were a no-no. Entertaining BACOO thoughts was a no-no. Friendship with BACOO people was a no-no. Everyone just went about their business as if Matilda and her BACOO bandwagon did not exist. The villagers ignored the carrying-ons. They ignored the dying squeals of the chickens as they were sacrificed one by one. They ignored the shrilling cries of the BACOO women as they reached orgasmic peaks of spiritual frenzy. They ignored the BACOO waltz, where each attendee would grab a bottle containing one of the 6 BACOOs that Matilda owned and worshipped. Each bottle was placed in a circle and their caps removed. The BACOOs would leave their bottled habitats and drink from a pool of chicken blood while the revelers danced and chanted. Satiated, the BACOOs would then return to their bottles, and the BACOO men and women would each in communion take turns dipping a tongue into the remaining chicken blood. Matilda's cup was literally overflowing. The plot of land her house was built on appeared to be the most fertile of all the village. Coconuts, bananas, plantains, dungs, tamarind, guinep, mangoes, bora, tomatoes, and spinach trees and plants surrounded her house and overflowed with ripe fruit and vegetables. The rosy ripe fruit would often fall invitingly to the outside of her fence close to the road. No one dared to pick them up. They knew better.
Yield not to temptation. You eat Matilda fruit, you choke.
It was as simple as that. Stay away from her yard and stay away from her fruit. Matilda was especially friendly and kind to one neighbouring family, the Peters. Ironically, the Peters were a very religious family and did not embrace the beliefs and customs shared by their cousin Matilda. Mother Beaton, the matriarch of the Peters family, was an ordained mother of the Jordanite faith. Mother Beaton held weekly prayer meetings that lasted the entire day on Saturday, the holy day of the Sabbath. The order of service generally comprised prayers, singing of hymns, and Mother Beaton's preaching of the gospel according to the Bible. One could not miss the lily-white cotton robe that each brother and sister adorned. The purity of body and soul manifested in candle lights and incense. No one in the village knew that the Peters were related to Matilda, and it was never confirmed. However, what was known to be true was that Matilda had an unexplained relationship with the youngest Peters child, Jason, age 7. He was the only child who visited Matilda in the afternoon during the school week. He would stop by her home every day, spend time doing his homework, and then, to the envy of his peers, he would be seen leaving her home with a basketful of ripe mangoes, guineps, and fresh vegetables. Rumour had it that Matilda was fattening the pig for the slaughter. Matilda had promised the Baku god Plenteous that she would offer him a living vessel to possess and to assume life form. The promise was Jason. Jason was now 7, and the time was ripe. Matilda made a bold move. She asked her cousin Ethel, Jason's mother, if he, Jason, could accompany her on a pilgrimage to another village.
It would only be for one day, and there'll be plenty of boys and girls his age for him to play with.
Jason was excited and implored his mother to let him go with Matilda. His mother reluctantly agreed. It was a dark, rainy Saturday. The bus came early morning and the pilgrims were all aboard. Little Jason was so excited. He was the centre of attention and he loved it. Everyone was showering him with attention and catering to his every need, and he loved it. The bus pulled up to a beach area and everyone unloaded. The day's festivities were centred around a secluded area of the beach. Many pilgrims from other villages had arrived and had set up the arrangements for the celebration and ceremony. There was an elevated structure, the likes of an altar, which was topped with fresh fruits and hanging dried vegetables. 6 familiar green bottles were very visibly and strategically placed on the table, their necks adorned with snake-like chains of gold. Most of the day was spent chanting to drums, singing folk songs, eating and drinking. Everyone was hyped. Today was a special day. Plenteous, the Baku god, was about to join them on earth through the innocence of Jason. Their spirits were at an all-time high as they anxiously awaited the setting of the sun to the west. As dusk began to settle across the sky, Matilda approached Jason and took his arm. She told him they were going swimming and she had a special outfit for him to wear. Jason excitedly accompanied Matilda to the seaside where the other Baku people had gathered in a circle in preparation for the start of the ceremonies. Then the drums, the dance, the frenzy. Chickens were dragged from their cages, squealing and flapping their wings as if they knew what fate had in store for them. Jason was brought into the circle. He was fully dressed in a long white robe designed with black snake-skinned trimmings. He appeared to be in a trance-like state, his eyes staring and empty. He seemed drugged. He was then made to lie on the altar as the drumming intensified. The Baku people formed a circle around the altar and began their Baku dance.
Back to back, belly to belly, I don't give a damn, I done that already. Back to back, belly to belly, I want donkey, jamboree.
The chants and drums became louder and louder and louder, punctuated only by the desperate squeals of the chickens, as the revellers literally bit their heads off one by one and drank their blood, passing the dead chickens around and around until the carcasses were completely drained of blood. The BACOOS were then let out of their bottles, and they advanced towards the altar. Suddenly Jason sat up, and as he did, a flash of lightning consumed his body, and he shook vigorously. He then spoke in a commanding voice.
Where is Matilda? Where is Matilda? I am thirsty and I want to drink. Where is Matilda?
Matilda responded on her hands and knees.
Here am I, your omnipotent, God of my God, riches of my riches.
She arose and walked towards Jason while removing her veil and baring her neck. As she advanced toward Jason, his face transformed into a devil-like formation, a huge beastly mouth, cupping green slime with protruding fangs. As Matilda neared, he lunged forward and forced the fangs into her neck. Matilda screamed with orgasmic ecstasy. She fell to the ground, convulsing in response to the shock of the rapid suck of blood from her veins. Plenteus had his fill, and both Matilda and Jason were reduced to a comatose state by the time he was finished. Jason remained in this unconscious state throughout the journey home, and his mother received him with open arms, assuming he was exhausted from the day's festivities. Then, in the middle of the night, Jason awoke, shaking and covered with perspiration.
I want to drink.
He shouted.
I am thirsty. I want to drink.
What was astonishing to the family was that he was not speaking in his own voice. His was the commanding voice of a grown man.
Where is Matilda? Matilda, come forth. I need to drink, Matilda.
Alarmed, the family rushed into the room where Jason was and found him thrashing about the floor and frothing at the mouth. He appeared demonic and possessed. He looked at them and appeared not to recognize them. "What's wrong, Jason?" his mother asked as she approached him. Jason lashed out at his mother and spat green slime in her face.
Where is Matilda?
He demanded.
I am thirsty.
Mother Beaton, on hearing the commotion, rushed upstairs and towards Jason. Sensing her presence, Jason's head did 5 360-degree turns in quick succession, with eyes spewing blood and vomiting green slime from his mouth.
Get away from me, you bitch. I will eat you alive.
Who are you?
Mother Beaton asked.
I am Plenteous, the Baku god, you bitch. Where is Matilda? I want to drink.
Mother Beaton stared at the possessed Jason and quietly left the room. She returned shortly with a long white shepherd's staff. She used the hooked portion of the staff to grab Jason by the neck.
In the name of Jesus, I command you to go, 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 go. In the name of Jesus, I command you to go.
The demon shouted in the voice of a woman this time.
Me nah go, me nah go, me nah go.
Mother Beaton jerked the staff about his neck and commanded,
In the name of Jesus Christ, I command you to go, 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 go.
The demon again changed his voice to that of a man.
Okay, me a go. Okay, me a go. Me a go, me a go.
Go, go, in the name of Jesus, go.
Me a go. Me a go. Me a go. Me a go.
The demon's voice began to fade and fade as Jason slowly fell into a deep sleep. Mother Beaton unhooked the staff from around his neck and told his mother to pick him up and put him to bed. Shortly thereafter, Matilda could be heard screaming, shedding her clothing and running through the village towards the cemetery. She disappeared into the darkness and was hardly seen again. The trees in her yard began to dry up, and leaves were falling along the road where there was once abundant fruit. No one dared venture onto the property. The BACOOS were there, hungry and angry, trapped in their bottles. Matilda was banished to a life of denigrate insanity. She lived in the bushes and would on occasion jump out at school children on their way home, scaring them and shouting,
Only one bunch banana. Only one bunch banana.